What happens when one of America's most iconic manufacturers decides to move production south of the border? And why would they risk a 200% tariff threat from Donald Trump? The answer reveals a perfect storm brewing in American manufacturing that could reshape how we think about jobs, trade, and the future of making things in America. For nearly 2 centuries, the distinctive green and yellow John Deere equipment has been as American as apple pie. But in early 2025, the company announced plans to shift production of certain equipment lines from the United States to a new $55 million facility in Ramos Arizpe, Mexico. This decision didn't go unnoticed at the highest levels of American politics. When Donald Trump heard about Deere's plans, his response was immediate and severe. During a policy roundtable in Pennsylvania, with John Deere tractors ironically serving as his backdrop, he issued a stark warning. "I'm just notifying John Deere right now. If you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything that you want to sell into the United States." The company's stock dropped 1.7% in after-hours trading following his comments. But why would a company so deeply woven into the fabric of American agriculture make such a move in the first place? The answer lies in a complex web of economic forces that have been building for years. John Deere has faced significant financial headwinds recently. The company slashed its earnings projections to $5 billion for 2025, down dramatically from the $10.1 billion reported just 2 years earlier. This financial pressure has already resulted in over 1,700 layoffs across its Iowa facilities since early 2024, including cuts at iconic plants in Waterloo, Ottumwa, and Davenport. The company cites challenging market conditions and reduced demand for equipment as the primary drivers behind these decisions. And they're not wrong about the market challenges. American farmers have seen their incomes plummet, with major crop cash receipts falling 16% in 2024 after already dropping 8% the previous year. Corn prices have collapsed by 37%, soybeans by 24%, and wheat by 37% compared to 2022 levels. When farmers aren't making money, they aren't buying new equipment. But there's more to this story than just a temporary downturn in agriculture. The economics of manufacturing have shifted dramatically. Workers in Mexican manufacturing plants earn approximately 70% less than their American counterparts. For a company facing intense global competition from rivals like Japan's Kubota and India's Mahindra, that wage gap presents an almost irresistible opportunity to cut costs. The Mexico facility also offers strategic advantages beyond just cheaper labor. It provides proximity to expanding Latin American markets, where demand for agricultural and construction equipment is booming. Mexico itself has become John Deere's second-largest market for construction equipment in Latin America, with demand surging 76% since 2022. Despite Trump's threats, John Deere remains committed to its expansion plans south of the border. The company has emphasized that less than 5% of its total North American production would be affected by the move, with most of its large equipment continuing to be manufactured in U.S. plants, particularly in Iowa and Illinois. When contacted about the tariff threat, a company spokesperson pointed to a page on their website titled "John Deere's Commitment to U.S. Manufacturing," where they argue, "In order to position our U.S. factories to undertake these highly value-additive activities, it is sometimes necessary to move less complex operations, such as cab assembly, to other locations. But for the communities built around John Deere factories, these corporate explanations offer little comfort." In towns like Waterloo, Iowa, where the company has maintained one of its most iconic facilities, Deere's presence has been a pillar of economic life for generations. These aren't just jobs being lost, they're well-paying positions that have supported families and entire communities for decades. The ripple effects extend far beyond direct employment. Local businesses, suppliers, service technicians, transportation companies, and even educational institutions that developed specialized training programs now face disruption as the manufacturing ecosystem fragments. This showdown between John Deere and Trump highlights a fundamental tension in the American economy. On one side stands global economic forces pushing companies to seek competitive advantages worldwide. On the other stands economic nationalism aimed at preserving domestic manufacturing jobs. Caught in the middle are American farmers who both depend on local John Deere facilities for community employment, but also need affordable equipment to maintain their operations. The situation becomes even more complex when we consider international trade relationships. Substantial tariffs on John Deere products manufactured in Mexico could trigger retaliatory measures and destabilize the US-Mexico-Canada agreement that replaced NAFTA. With approximately 30% of U.S. agricultural machinery being exported and Canada serving as the largest foreign market, the potential for disruption extends far beyond just one company. But perhaps the most profound question lurking beneath this dispute is whether these manufacturing jobs would return, regardless of where production facilities are located. John Deere has invested heavily in automation technologies, from autonomous tractors to AI-powered farm management systems. Many traditional manufacturing positions are being transformed or eliminated through technological innovation rather than just relocated. The truth is that manufacturing is changing everywhere, not just in America. The political promise of bringing back lost jobs collides with the reality that the nature of work itself is evolving. A factory that once employed hundreds of workers might now operate with just dozens overseeing sophisticated machinery. So what does all this mean for American manufacturing? Perhaps the most realistic path forward isn't fighting to preserve an industrial landscape that's rapidly evolving, but instead focusing on developing the high-skill manufacturing jobs of the future. Positions that combine technical expertise with problem-solving abilities that can't easily be replicated elsewhere. For John Deere, this confrontation represents more than where tractors are built. It embodies fundamental questions about corporate strategy and national economic interests. For workers and communities, it's about livelihoods and identity. And for policymakers, it's about navigating the complex intersection of global competition, domestic employment, and industrial policy in an increasingly interconnected world. What do you think? Are tariffs the right approach to keep manufacturing jobs in America, or should we focus on developing new types of industrial work that can't be easily outsourced? The outcome of this dispute could set the tone for how we approach these challenges for years to come. This story continues to develop, with both John Deere and the Trump administration holding firm to their positions. As the scheduled 2026 opening of the Mexico facility approaches, the pressure will only intensify on both sides. Whatever happens, one thing is certain. The landscape of American manufacturing is changing, and the decisions made today will echo throughout our economy for generations to come.